Good morning, everybody. Welcome to FPL Breakfast Club on Fantasy Football Scout, here for the season, slightly earlier time this season, because there's a lot to fit in. And I am joined by not one, but two guests this morning, Fantasy Football Scout legends, Mark and Luke. Mark, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. This is a genuine Breakfast Club. I've got toast next to me. That's exactly what Breakfast Club should have been back in the day, and now it is. So that's great.
Yeah, I've had me fruit, and now I'm just some H2O. Stay hydrated. How about you, Luke?
So
How you doing?
healthy.
It's crumpets for me. Yeah, I'm pretty tired, pretty knackered. Stayed up most of the night, stressing, the usual. Feel like I've gone a few rounds with Mike Tyson, and then my kid woke me up at 7 a.m. to go to ballet class by hitting me in the eyeball with my mobile phone. So that was enjoyable. But I've managed to drag myself out of bed, and here I am.
Yeah,
Didn't Mike Tyson say that a plan is all very well until he gets smacked in the face? Well, that's what's happened to you this morning.
It's very fitting, isn't it? Very fitting indeed.
I think I was up chatting
and probably when the deadline comes.
I was up chatting to both of you till about 1 a.m. and then I was up at 6:30. I was down Tesco at 7:10 this morning, so I've got
you big idiot.
Fit it all in, and now I'm feeling pretty knackered myself.
Oh my god!
So yeah, lots to go through. I think because there's three of us, I think we're just going to go through teams and then just see how it goes along there with the players we're thinking about. Let's go with Luke first. Big reveal. See what Luke's gone with. The Sky Man, the FPL team here. Talk us through it. Pulisic is in. Have you got James as well? Or have I put the wrong team? Yeah, you've got James, haven't you, as well?
Nah, that's your team, I think, mate.
Oh, I put the wrong team.
No, that's my team. That's my team.
Is it? Yeah, we're sure on the bench.
I've got James.
No, that's my team. Okay, let's do Mark's team first because I've got that one correct. Go on, talk us through it.
Well, yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. I mean, for weeks, I've not really liked my team. And on Thursday, if you watched Blackbox, you were seeing I really hated my team. But you know what? I think you helped me a bit on the Scoutcast by kind of saying, why do we need United players? Don't necessarily need them. And I started looking at what I could do if I abandoned any plans to save money and stuff. And started when I heard that Pulisic could be fit. And I think if he's fit, he plays, particularly with the injuries that they've got up front. So I think he's going to figure against Brighton. So when I put him in, and I thought, well, what I can do, I can have Werner up front, and if Werner doesn't impress, I can go to Martial game week 2. Or if Salah disappoints, I can always do the Salah Fernandes thing. So actually, I'm pretty pleased with this. So it's Steer and McCarthy in goal, Reece James, Ayling, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Vinagre in defence. So I've got the Liverpool double up. Aubameyang, which I still can't pronounce, Pulisic, Salah, Saint-Maximin, Soucek in midfield. Davis, the bench fodder, and then Werner and Adams up front. So yeah, make of that what you will, but I'm quite happy with that.
Do you think like Reece James, potentially one of the best value players in the whole game, I think, this year if he gets regular minutes? But that's the question. Can we rely on regular minutes from him? When Azpilicueta, I think he was benched twice last year, otherwise 90 minutes a game. Chilwell's in now. He's going to surely be the first choice left back every single week. So what's going to happen with James?
Yeah, he's not going to play regularly. It's a game week 1 punt. I think Azpilicueta, I can't pronounce that this time in the morning, not with toast and marmalade next
Dave.
Week as well. Yeah, Dave. Dave is. I don't think he'll figure at Brighton because if Lampard talked about he's got to manage Pulisic and Azpilicueta. I can't do it. And Dave, and I think with Liverpool coming up, he'll want Dave for that one. So I think James will start in this one. But after that, you're dead shot. I mean, unless they play 3 at the back, which they probably will against Liverpool, to be fair, James won't get starts. But I think he's worth a shout for Brighton because I've got Vinagre to come on if James doesn't get any minutes. And a lot of people are starting him this weekend. And for game weeks 2 and 3, I've got Ayling who can come in the 3-5-2 with the 2 Liverpool guys. So that's fine. It means I've got to play Soucek, but that's all right. I think he could do something at Arsenal, to be honest, set pieces. He can do something anywhere from set pieces. So I thought that James was worth a gamble because he's the kind of player who could offer a big upside. And also having thought about him and put him in, if I don't do it, I could really regret it. So yeah, go for it, I think.
Yeah, better hope he doesn't concede. I mean, Kepa's still there against Brighton. More pay, not going in, no assists. Then you're worried about him for the rest of the season, potentially. Do you think it's a transfer waiting to happen? Can I change your mind on him?
No. It is a transfer waiting to happen. But as I said, I've got till game week 4 before I think I'll have to worry about the defence because Ayling can play in game weeks 2 and 3. He's got is it Fulham and Sheffield United away, which I think that Sheffield United game would be very interesting, but that could easily be a battle of attrition. And I think they'll keep a clean sheet against Fulham. So I'm all right for game weeks 2 and 3. And then by game week 4, I'll have 0.5 in the bank from going Aubameyang to Sterling or De Bruyne. So I'll have some extra money as well. So a defensive transfer in game week 4, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to fret about it. If it means I get in to Gav James on Monday night and enjoy watching that match.
Nice, yeah. I think that's one thing I've kind of got in the back of my head, that Aubameyang to Man City change, I just don't see what... I mean, FPL changes pretty quick, but I don't see what would change that to stop that happening. So straight away, that's 0.5 million. The Man United, I'm a little bit worried that you've listened to me, what I said about Man United, and you haven't gone for them. Because it's like I said, at the end of the day, all it's going to take is a couple of dodgy penalties, and suddenly Fernandes has got a huge score, and we're all wondering why we didn't go for him. But like you said, I think Chelsea just offers so much. Chelsea could be this year's Man United, or at least this year's Man United post lockdown with their prices. Quickly talk us through Adams, right? Because most people are on Mitrovic. I'm still on Mitrovic as well. Almost like a bit of a set and forget for the first kind of 7 or 8 game weeks. But you're convinced that Adams is the better pick, right?
I'm just convinced Southampton are a form side who are, I think, will score against Palace and probably will score against Spurs, because Spurs will be back from the Europa League tie. They'll be leggy, I expect. Or we kind of, that's the narrative. Whether it'll come true, I don't know. Adam starts for sure because he's been good in pre-season, as good at the end of last season, and all the Southampton fans are saying that he offers something which the other options, Long and Obafemi, don't offer. A bit of strength, I guess, up front.
The ability to score a goal helps as well.
Yeah, that does as well. Yeah. I think he'll start. And I said in the article I've done for Scout this morning, Adams might only get an hour, but I think in that hour, Southampton could easily create more chances than Fulham do in 90 minutes for Mitrovic, because Fulham are obviously up against Arsenal, who are a better side than Southampton are up against, which is Palace. And also Fulham, I watched them a lot last year. And in the Championship, they kept the ball and made a lot of passes and waited for Championship defences to make mistakes. And that's how they scored their goals. Well, Premier League defences aren't going to make quite as many mistakes. Arsenal might, to be fair, but I just think Adams will probably get more opportunities in an hour than Mitrovic will in his 90 minutes. But we'll see. I might be completely wrong.
I've got to be honest. I don't know. Sometimes I like to look at the fixtures and think, yeah, they look okay, and then you take a closer look, and if Leeds are as good as everyone says, that's already a tricky game in Game Week 2. Wolves away is extremely tricky for any team. Like, I wouldn't even bother about Man City players in Game Week 2 because of Wolves being that good. And if Sheffield United managed to be as good as they were last year as well, that's another away game. And even like, without trying to overthink it too much, even Aston Villa, this is for Mitrovic, of course, in Game Week 3, they were pretty good after lockdown defensively as well. Arsenal's probably might even be the easiest fixture in that run. And obviously they've put a lot of new defensive players in the team this year. Who knows how they'll react? So yeah, I'm wavering a little bit on Mitrovic, but in some ways I just personally don't want to have to use transfers on that spot, especially if I've got other players. I've actually got James in my squad as well right now. I am wavering a bit on that too, but yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, Adams, Crystal Palace, and West Brom in the first 4. There should be goals in that, and then maybe moving on. Like you said, if you get the odd 0.5 here or there, there's always Chris Wood, maybe Antonio at some point. There's a lot of options. Let's take a look at Luke's team here. I've got the right team up now, I think. I basically went to our direct messages on Twitter and I took the team that I sent to you. That's how I cocked up. That's why I was showing my team on screen. So you've gone for double Liverpool defence as well. So I'm the only one not on double Liverpool defence. What's the thinking there? Just too good to ignore, set and forget, don't have to worry about them?
I mean, I'm not even all that confident that Liverpool will actually get that many clean sheets to begin with, to be honest. But I just feel like, yeah, part of it is set and forget. I don't need to worry about it. And I just think Robertson has just been highly overlooked. I mean, he's basically Alexander-Arnold, as far as I can tell, for 0.5 cheaper. He, apart from the goals from free kicks, so let's add in 3 worldies from Trent across the season, maybe more than that if he gets lucky. I can't see what else he really offers. I think his delivery is not quite as good as in from deep, but he manages to bomb on and get closer for his crosses in, and now he's on corners from the left-hand side. So you've essentially got the same player, as far as I can tell, for 0.5 cheaper, and people just are massively drawn to Trent. I mean, season upon season, we always say Trent's got the potential to outscore him, and he often does by about 10, 15 points, but it's very, very close all the time. So yeah, I can't really understand why he's not thought of more highly. To be honest, I think he's only had like 11%. I think he had or something.
Yeah,
Maybe it's more by now.
yeah. I think last year Trent was 5.5 points per match, and Robertson was 5. So I mean, even if you put that over the course of the season, that's what 19 points. So it's not. I mean, 19 points is nothing to be sniffed at, of course, but it's not a massive amount. So for 0.5 less, yeah. And obviously, when you compare him to any other, the reason I don't have him in is because I've just tried to put too much money in attack. And I'll tell you who's holding me back in a minute. It's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Spending 7 million on him leaves a little bit less in the defence. But I just think Trent and Robertson, no one can sit here and argue with them really, apart from Ian Az and Joe on the Scoutcast. But apart from that, no one can really argue with those two.
I can understand the approach. Like they're not going to get too many clean sheets to begin with. Some people think. I probably think that as well. But yeah, it's just I don't want to have to be forced to make that move later on. People are always talking about not trying to use too many transfers in defence this season, and it makes sense not to do that. And I mean, with Trent and Robber, I can be fairly confident they're going to turn up every week and play. But I mean,
can I just comment on that? Because I think not making a lot of transfers in defence is fair enough, but I'm looking at potentially like going Robertson to Digne or Doherty once I've seen them settle. Once Everton have settled with the new signings and we know about Doherty's role. And I don't think a Robertson move to one of those two is a wasted transfer if those two have got good fixtures. Obviously, a Robertson to a 4-5 wouldn't feel great, but Doherty and Digne could be players who are effectively midfielders if they get forward as much as we think they will. So I don't really buy I don't buy the Robertson as set and forget, because I think there are options just below him who are good. And I don't get, when you're making transfers from Robertson to someone like Digne or Doherty, I don't think that's a wasted one.
yeah, I'd agree with that as well. And in my mind, Robertson is basically my cash cow if it needs to be. Like if the rest of my team's not performing or I need to find some money for a Man United attacker somewhere or something, then Robertson's the guy. I've gone for the other approach where you guys have got James. I feel like I could either drop down to him or Luke Shaw or someone like that and save 2 million if I need to. And that is in the back of my mind. I'm like you, I'm not completely against defensive transfers. I think they can score some massive points now. They're not the same as they were back in the day. As long as you're not trading 4.5 defenders all over the place, the top guys have got just as much potential as the sort of mid-tier midfielders, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah,
and that's the beauty of someone like Robertson, right? He can be set and forget, and if not, you've got someone you can transfer down to. Like, I think Lucas Digne is someone that I'm pretty interested in. Like, what are your thoughts on? Come to you first, Luke. What are your thoughts on going like 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 and swapping out one of the, because a lot of people have got Mitrovic or Adams. Some people have got both. Swapping out one of them to another defender, 4 at the back. Any interest in that?
Again, I see the logic in it. I think that's more of a strategy that you have to be committed to long term to see the benefits of. I prefer to just chop and change the cheaper forwards. I know that's not people want to hear. They want to be trading these heavy hitters all over the place. But looking last season, there was a number of cheap forwards who will just go on an incredible burst of form and they'll get a lot of their points in a small window. The likes of Chris Wood towards the back end of the season, for example. Tammy Abraham went on that 3-game run where he was hitting like 15 pointers. So I want the ability to swap that position. And if you play with a 4-4-2, I feel like that position is taken up in a defender that you will be reluctant to swap and move around. So playing that way probably is just a very safe way across the season. It could work out and end up being beneficial. I prefer to go for broke and maybe just hit one of those form forwards. Yeah, I could completely mess it up and waste transfers, but I still feel like if you can get that right, you can do better. And that's what I like to try to go for.
And there are a lot of forwards this year. There are a lot of options.
Yeah,
we don't know
There's
exactly
so
which
many.
ones. Yeah, we don't know which ones are going to bang yet, but it could be a few of them. What do you think, Mark, about swapping big hitters around? Because Late Riser talks about that a lot. Is upside chasing. He also, on the flip side, talks that if you're not the kind of manager that has that style and you want to do something different, you should really try and stick to what you know. Is that something you're going to try and do this year?
Yeah, it is. I'll look at it, and that's really convinced me to go for the Chelsea players and not bank any money for United, because if I'm going to talk the talk, then Salah to Fernandes has got to be a move I consider. I can't sit and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna use a similar strategy to Late Riser, then go, oh, I'm really worried about going Salah to Fernandes. I can't worry about that. I've got to put my money where my mouth is and do that kind of thing. And so that's probably what I'm going to try and do. I mean, it depends how Salah just plays against Leeds. If he really impresses and looks on it again, then I'll think, well, he can do something at Chelsea. But right now, I look at it and think, I can probably get away with Salah to Fernandes, and over 2 or 3 games, I think Fernandes could match him or better him. it might not come off. And when you're subbing out big hitters, then you might pay a cost for that, right? But that's the tactic, right? You know, it's risk and reward, isn't it? And I think when you look at Salah's fixtures after game week 1, there's enough there to suggest that he could have a bit of a dip. Many will say he's in the middle of a dip already. So yeah, I mean, it really comes down to whether Bruno does it, and that I think we can only really speculate because Bruno is so reliant on set pieces. That's a variant that we can't predict. So I think I'm going to try that, and I think I may well do it very early on with Salah to Fernandes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot riding on that Leeds game. I look at Salah's fixture. We'll come to you, Luke, in a sec, because you've not got him. I look at his first kind of 7 fixtures, and I feel like maybe in the past few seasons, I'd probably captain him maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 times. But if Chelsea look good from the off, we know they got West Brom in game week 3. And they basically got good fixtures from them for a few weeks. So they could be options. We know Aubameyang for the first 2 looks good anyway. So once you take captaincy out, 12 million is a lot of money. What do you think, Luke? You've not got him. What's the reason?
I'd be more comfortable if I did have him, I'll be honest. The thing with this is I'm going to have Fernandes. I've got 1.5 million in the bank. So I'm going to have Bruno and Kevin De Bruyne. And as far as I can tell, I see no reason why Kevin De Bruyne isn't the best captain in the game still. He was last season. He was the highest scorer, him or Sterling. So I don't feel like I necessarily need him. I'd like to have him for this first game above Aubameyang. I'm not sure about Aubameyang's chances away from home to Fulham, to be honest with you. I think Mark mentioned on Black Box, in fact, Arsenal just don't put teams to the sword. Now, Aubameyang could easily score 1 or 2 goals and it could end 2-0 and he could get a haul. But by the same token, they could be frustrated. I would prefer Salah, but then it's the next week when they're at home to West Ham. I feel like that's such a good game for him. They're having real struggles on the right side. Fredericks just doesn't look up to it. And Johnson was subbed after 20 minutes against, was it Bournemouth or someone, just because he was atrocious apparently. So that bodes well for Aubameyang in a home game. So thinking a little bit longer term, because ultimately he's going to be Kevin De Bruyne anyway. So over the 2, I prefer Aubameyang's to Salah. So that's the only reason he's in there. But yeah, long term, I will be able to raise the money for Salah if I need him going forward. But I don't know. I mean, no one's candle burns brightly forever, right? Liverpool have had a good run.
I'm
hoping
3
it's starting to be on the way.
This is what I keep thinking about Salah. Like out of form talk. He's basically been on form for 3 seasons. Like I think people are basing it on a couple of pre-season games plus Community Shield.
No, not me. You know me.
No, not you. Sorry, but I'm talking more in general. Like even the poor form after the restart was 7 returns and 7 starts. So it's not like, if that's out of form, then I'd love to see what people consider in form.
But his output has dipped over the 3 seasons. It's in decline, right? So
it's still
incredible. That's not surprising after the first season. But yeah, I said on Thursday in the Black Box that if you look at stats, it's really hard to make an argument not to have him. But the eye test has maybe added an extra dimension to things, and I think that Leeds game is make or break for him really as an FPL asset early on. Because if we were sitting here now and going, right, what's more likely, Salah's price going up in game week 2 or 3 or Salah's price going down? I would actually say he's more likely to go down because I think actually him maybe getting an assist or a small return against Leeds and then a lot of people moving him out for Fernandes is a scenario which seems quite likely. I hope that's not the case because Salah's my captain, but we'll see.
For me, I just feel like if you've got that player that Salah, I'm not suggesting for a second Salah is out of form. I mean, he's not looked his best, but it's Salah. You're right. The last 3 seasons, he's been, either top scorer or second. So I don't doubt that it will be the same again. But I just feel like this season, it's particularly in the likes of Werner, people are sort of being put off with the price and he's a 9.5 million forward. If Werner's coming into this league and is performing how his stats suggest he should for a team that are like in the top 3 for expected goals, a complete new attack worth hundreds of millions of pounds, we've been deprived of a striker, I think, from one of the top sides for a long, long time now. I mean, you could say Aguero kind of fits the category, but obviously he had his issues with Jesus and injuries. You look at Man United, they didn't even have a strike. It was like Rashford out wide. Martial was a midfielder. Liverpool had Firmino, need I say more? Werner's got the potential, if everything goes right, to be hitting 25 goals a season. So why can't I just captain him for the majority of the games? He's so heavily owned. It's almost in that Salah bracket. Oh, he's so heavily owned. Salah will kill you. Well, what if you don't captain Werner? He could kill you as well if he's performing and getting braces and hat-tricks every other week. I don't see any reason why he can't.
We need, if Werner and Martial are as prolific as they can be, then that's going to change the landscape a lot because Vardy will have their moments. Vardy and Kane will have their moments as well, and Aguero's a factor as well. So suddenly you're looking at 5 strikers all pushing 20 goals. That's a possible scenario. And then suddenly it's like the midfield isn't the kind of big money bank that we think it has been in previous seasons.
And also I think Salah, yeah, he can haul, but it's just the whole bonus points things. Well, if you captain Kevin De Bruyne, you can be fairly sure that you're going to get some sort of return in most games, just because of the way the bonus works. He's obviously, I don't need to go through why he's so good. He takes penalties, everything. Everyone knows this.
You do, because I never had him at all last season.
Yeah, but I mean, he could easily get 6 points in a match and barely have turned up. Whereas if Salah doesn't turn up, you're going to notice it. He needs to hit the goals. Obviously, he is going to hit the goals, but Kevin De Bruyne feels safer than Salah to me.
Yeah, I'm not even...
Especially away from home.
In previous seasons, I'd probably sit here and tell people they're crazy, but I don't think people are crazy if they're going at him. I do think saying he's now out of form, and that's the reason you're not going... I'm not saying you are, but some people...
I'm not saying that.
No, I know you're not, but some people saying he's out of form, that's why I'm not going for him. I think that's a little bit risky. The thing is, he gets a double-digit haul against Leeds, and then suddenly that Arsenal home fixture looks really good. Oh, then he's got Villa, Sheffield United without Dean Henderson, West Ham are awful, and suddenly his fixtures look really good. So I think, lots riding on that Leeds game, which is why I don't want to go without him for that one. And again, a Leeds going to be, as good as everyone says. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. One quick thing about your team before I just show mine: are you really captaining Ings?
Oh yes.
Why?
I just said I don't have Salah. To be honest, if I had Mane, it would be Mane, but I don't have him, and I've just explained why, because of the 2 games for Aubameyang, and I want Aubameyang captain versus West Ham, and away from home for Arsenal against Fulham. Like I said, I mean, Aubameyang's in one of those brackets where he doesn't do much in the game apart from score, does he? So I don't feel like he's going to be getting as much bonus. I could be wrong on this, but his sort of draw last time was whenever Arsenal score and he's a forward, you obviously get attributed more points when you score a goal as a forward, right? I don't see Aubameyang contributing too much during the game, so they're more designed for creative midfielders, hence why I've got the likes of Bruno and Kevin De Bruyne as my safe captain picks quite often, or will do. So I just think, Palace are absolutely decimated. Southampton, all the noise, everything I'm seeing for them is gung-ho, going for goals, non-stop. I like to have a player from a team who does that. Arsenal could go 1-2 up and sit back for the rest of the game. I feel like Southampton would go for the jugular, such as the manager. So Ings is in there. If he can get me, a 9-pointer, I'm more than happy with that. Could he get me any more? Maybe.
Do you not think Aubameyang against Fulham, though? Surely there's more than 9-pointer there.
I agree. There could quite comfortably be, but you know me, I like to be a little bit different. I've got Aubameyang. I feel like Ings could do well, so he's my captain.
He's going to set up all of Adams' goals, Ings, isn't he? It's going to be like 2 or 3 assists.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Adams as well, and that's basically why my team differs from mine. And Mark's team is actually very, very similar. He's got Adams and basically spread that Ings cash a little bit differently to get Salah, which I can't argue with at all. I don't want to be looking at that team sheet and seeing Adams being hauled off on the 59th minute, and I know I'm just sat there with Ings, who could again get me a penalty in the 88th minute or something. But it's questionable whether that's worth 2.5 million. I get that, but if you start throwing in the armband because of the way I've structured my team, I will have the armband on the likes of Ings, Werner, De Bruyne, Bruno, because I'm not going to have that 12 million midfielder, which everyone else will be captain. So it's just the way I've designed my team, really.
Fair enough. I should say, I don't know why, for some reason I've just had a Zoom message that it might close in a sec, which I don't usually get when I record, so I don't know why that's happening. If it does, I won't panic, I'll just get you back into a different meeting. Really quickly on Havertz, I think you, the same as all of us really, want Pulisic long term. If you start with Havertz, do you think you'll make that what will be looked at as a sideways switch at some point?
I honestly don't know. This has been keeping me up at night. That's why I'm so tired. The ultimate, I think I want Pulisic because I know about Pulisic. That's basically it. But suddenly everything I know could be changed because Havertz could be 5 times better. He could be worse. I just don't know is the answer. If you could tell me now categorically Pulisic definitely starts and plays, at least 60, 70 minutes, I would do it. I can see your guys' case that even if he comes on for 20, 30 minutes, he could easily score and then you're set up. But I've watched too many videos of Havertz now. I've watched him in training. I've watched the YouTube clips. He's in my head. He looks fantastic.
The thing is, Luke, do you not think Havertz is going to be like a number 8, whereas Pulisic, my theory is if Werner's going to pull out left, Pulisic is going to, swap with him on occasions. That's my theory. And Pulisic is a good finisher.
Yeah, I mean, likewise, Havertz can play up front. The only thing with, basically, if Ziyech was fit, I would 100% have Pulisic because of the way he just keeps shifting those balls out to that particular area of the pitch over and over and over. So I feel like having Havertz for the first couple of games, at least until Ziyech is back, might be a wise decision because so many of the Chelsea players drift left. Werner does, Pulisic drifts left, Mount drifts left. They all do. So I feel like Havertz is like the only one who might be more to the right and central because he can actually play right wing as well, can't he? Even Cho, who what's his proper name? I've completely forgotten his name.
Hudson-Odoi.
Hudson-Odoi, there we go.
You can't use an acronym like that. Yeah.
No, I know. I said it and I knew Mark hates them, so that's why I instantly changed my mind. He even usually plays a lot better on the left from what I've seen in the past. Whenever he played on the right, it didn't quite work. They tried to fit him in with Hazard a few times, didn't they? And it didn't really work. So, yeah, basically I'm hoping Havertz is the lone guy on that side of the pitch who has the whole freedom. You know, in my mind, I'm painting all these pictures. Whether it works out that way, we'll have to see.
I nearly had Havertz, Luke, but for me, I've got transfers waiting to happen in James and Adams, so I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, and by the deadline, mine might be Pulisic. It's been back and forward. I mean, Andy, I think I've sent you screenshots. It's changing every other week, every other 5 minutes. So we'll see how that ends up in the end.
Yeah, I mean, like it's game week 1. If any team's going to change like up until deadline, it's going to be your game week 1 team. I'll bring mine up. Hopefully, this is my team. Yeah, so I've also got Reece James, but I got to be honest, I'm very tempted just to go to Sice. My thinking is, I'm just not sure about this Marcel guy just suddenly starting in a defence that was just so good last year. Like, why would he come in? Like, who needs replacing in that defence? No one really, apart from Doherty now. And I figure if I have Vinagre and Sice, if one of them does get replaced by him, then I've still got another one. And that Wolves defence is so good. And the fixtures for the first 7 or 8 are decent. So I'm thinking of doubling up because James is... I think in James, I'm picturing this 15-point score in game week 1. And that's why I have him. I don't think I necessarily want him long term. Chilwell is the one I really want from Chelsea.
Can I just touch on there as well, Andy, very quickly? Yep. When and I was going to say this for Mark's team. James is potentially game breaking for me. He is, but I feel like you can wait, especially when it takes that slot. So now you can't get that third Chelsea attacker.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Let's say that Havertz is God, or Ziyech is unbelievable value at 8 million, setting everything up. Suddenly you're going to have to make 2 swaps to go from James to Ziyech, and I don't like being locked into a defender a la Maguire like he did last season, I believe, just to throw that in.
Yeah, I did get stuck with him. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Havertz is going to have to do something incredible to convince me that Pulisic and Werner aren't the best options. And I don't know he's going to be playing in the position to do that. I mean, until we see on Monday, we don't know what Havertz is. He could be anything because Lampard said he's so versatile. I don't think he's going to be up down the middle. I think he's going to be deeper. Or out on the right. He might be out on the right against Brighton because of Ziyech missing. But I think long term, he's going to be a bit deeper. And the goals are going to come mainly, I think, from Pulisic and Werner. That's my theory, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, mainly I want Ziyech, but he's not fit. I'd have him instead. If he's on all set pieces, it fits my bill of Bruno Fernandes and Kevin De Bruyne, all free kicks, set pieces, everything. And he'll be feeding those guys in that slot. So he's not fit, is he?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But that's probably ultimately what's going to happen. I've got Luke Shaw on the bench. A few people would probably question his pick. But Man United's defence was very good last year. And ultimately, I don't think he's really necessarily a long-term hold either. But the kind of first 3 or 4 fixtures for them are pretty decent. And then I can maybe move it on to another 5. Or got that 0.5 from Aubameyang to De Bruyne as well. Would let me go up to a different 5.5. And like I said, I've got my eye on Chilwell, because if Chelsea get a new goalkeeper, which looks very likely, then statistically at least their defence was very good last year. The problem was Kepa is not very good, or wasn't very good last year for them, and I think Chilwell has the potential to be like a long-term hold at 5.5. Pretty attacking, like we know how attacking that left-back spot can be for Chelsea. Whether or not he's Alonso levels, we'll have to wait and see, but to have a decent defence behind him as well, he's kind of someone I want. So I've got Shaw in there right now. And Calvert-Lewin, I suppose, is the other one that people will question a bit. I just think if you simply look at post-lockdown, then yes, you'd never buy Calvert-Lewin, but there was 29 weeks before that where at times he looked really good. And I'm looking at stuff like expected goals per 90, he's the same as Ings, slightly higher than Jimenez for the whole season this is as well. And now he has James Rodriguez, Allen and Decore behind him. And the only thing I suppose is we don't know if James is going to be fit for game 1. He's probably not, to be fair, but we'll have to wait and see. But it sounds like he's not going to take too long to get up and running. And their fixtures from game week 2 include West Brom, Palace and Brighton. And so if he does do well, great. I've got a player that people will look to buy. And if he doesn't, like we've already talked about, there is so many 6.5 and 6 million midfielders I can go to, and then suddenly I've got a bit of pocket change as well. So go on, rip me to pieces. What do you not like about Calvert-Lewin?
I like him a lot. I'm looking at, a ballsy hit for game week 2 could be Robertson to Digne, Adams to Calvert-Lewin. I'm not even, that's seriously something I'm thinking about. So I like Calvert-Lewin. I mean, he does need him on a plate. I think he's not a Danny Ings, Werner smart finisher, but he's a unit. He's quick, and he's going to get decent service. So I think he's a good option.
What about you, Luke? Any reservations?
No, I don't mind him. I don't look at the players' form and what they've performed, particularly. So that sort of post-lockdown period is kind of inconsequential to me. I don't really care. He did well when he played the majority of the time. I think my only worry with him is I kind of like, if you're going to have these cheaper strikers, I kind of prefer the ones that are going to be, the hub of all the goals for the team, and they have penalties. And Calvert-Lewin doesn't have that. So that's the part that worries me. I don't see Everton suddenly been able to score a whole host of goals just because they've signed, as far as I can tell, box to box and a DM. They're basically relying a lot on James Rodriguez to up their goals. They've still got the likes of Bernard and Walcott and all these other guys knocking about, and a lot of their players are quite injury prone. I mean, even Decore himself is pretty.
I thought that was about to happen. Apologies. For whatever reason, the Zoom has just decided to kick everybody out. But that was about to be the end anyway. So, yeah, I'll get that figured out for next time. I'm not sure why that's just happened. But thanks very much for watching. This is my team. I'm going to probably change James to size. Thanks very much to Mark and Luke. And apologies they got kicked out. I know it's a bit ridiculous. And that is my fault. I'll fix it for next time. If you haven't already and you still want to sign up to be a Fantasy Football Scout member, you can do that in the description below. Hit that link there. And we'll be back next week for another Breakfast Club. I promise we were going to shut it down very soon anyway. And apologies to Luke and Mark for not having that set up properly. But thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're going to do this every single week. And hit that like button as well if you've enjoyed it. And I will catch you again soon. Cheers all.